Hi, this is On Imagination. My job is to help you see lie from truth. That's it. When you can see lie from truth, you have the ability to calibrate yourself. You have the ability to determine if someone is an abuser. You have the ability to literally get ahead of your mental illness and take care of it. You have the ability to maneuver and navigate problems. You have the ability to foresee problems coming and then circumvent them completely, making your life literally like problem prevention, problem free. A lot of people in my world live problem free because they know exactly what a problem is. Most people don't even know what a problem is. A problem is a learning point. A learning point is when it's time for a lesson. But in order to learn, you have to have prerequisites in place. When a person does not have those prerequisites in place, a problem doesn't become a lesson or stay a lesson. A problem becomes an obstacle. So problems evolve. They start off as a lesson. And if you are not in the ability to recognize a lesson or be willing to learn, it turns into an obstacle. And if you are incapable of problem solving, then the obstacle becomes a problem. So what starts off as a very simple lesson very quickly for certain people grows into big problems. The size of the problem is then completely dependent upon, well, how stupid you are. If you are intelligent and educated, then you learn the lesson and there is no obstacle or problem. You just learn the lesson. And in most cases, there is the pre-stage where you can foresee the pending lesson and you are ahead of it. That's really fucking smart. If you can see the approaching lesson and you get ahead of it and you start learning so that by the time it comes to you, you breeze right through it. The obstacle stage is where once you figure out problem solving, all the problems decrease in size and then they become obstacles. After they decrease in more size, they become, oh, this is just a lesson. And then after a while, you figure out how to navigate the lessons so they don't even approach you. And now you have a problem-free life. Now, you've got the really stupid people who like to say things like everyone has problems. No, they don't. Just the stupid people do. Only the stupid people have problems. You can actually measure how stupid you are based on how many problems you have, the size of the problems, and the complications. That is literally a metric for how intelligent you are, because intelligence is your problem-solving skills. Problem-solving skills are vital in life. You were never taught them because you have to study logic, and your schools don't do that. So logic is literally fused with pure problem solution. It's all it is this science of problem solving. Problem solving is relative to the truth. So in order to solve a problem, you have to be able to decipher the truth, which you can't do without logic. So once you have logic, you have the ability to measure your truth against it. So then you can navigate your problems and then reduce them into lessons. And then from there, reduce them into exercises. I would call mine exercises. They're no longer lessons for me. They're exercises. Whenever I have something come up, it's, oh, I gotta exercise my brain. I gotta like do some maintenance. And that's it. That's it. If a problem does occur that's huge, let's go worst case scenario, like a death. That is part of life. It's not a problem. Losing someone is not a problem. It's sad, but it's definitely not a problem. It's only a problem if you're symbiotic or if you're parasitic to them. If they are your host, then yeah, it's going to be a problem, but you should not be anyone's host. So how devastated you are, I don't want to get into that because there is love. And then you have the question of whether or not it was a bonded cell. Talked to somebody last night and I could feel them analyzing me. to figure out what I am. And she couldn't understand why I was so, well, the way I am. So I broke it all down and I wrote a post explaining that none of it was real. That none of the chakra stones, tarot cards, they did not cross over. There are no chakra stones over here. About 90% of the stuff spiritualists believe are not here. There are no chakras over here. None. There are no colors. In fact, everything's rather black, like ink. It's like black ink. There's a lot of black stainless steel and black ink. There are some dark blues. And the only time you really see rainbow is when everything gets integrated. In fact, the only time you see rainbow is when everything is integrated. There is no color otherwise. There's feeling your feelings. But then there's a process where you have to interpret, translate, and then communicate your feelings. I have no doubt that people can feel their feelings. I highly question their interpretation, translation, and communication skills. I strongly question their interpretation, translation, and communication skills. But I absolutely believe you can feel your feelings. I just don't think you can understand them, decipher them, translate them, or even communicate them. In addition to that, one of the things that I noticed was Dumbo's feather. I have done a lot of research on chakra stones and their ability, and I'm not going to get into it. At this time, it is a placebo effect. At this time, there is substantial evidence that it is a placebo effect. But it is equivalent to the same placebo effect as Dumbo's feather. What that means is they don't work. You work. The chakra stones aren't magic. You are. But people with low self-esteem and people who lack autonomy or self-authority have mistaken their own magic for the chakra stones, Dumbo's feather. So now you're crediting your own power to a bunch of stones. I believe there is something in the stones, sometimes a few of them, but I believe that 98% of what the stones can do, especially at everyone else's stage, at stage 6, is with how bonkers my chakra and everything is, my energy. When I sit down with some chakra stones, they feel a little bit more powerful than they did. But I know that it's coming from me, not them. I know that they're just absorbing my energy because I can feel the flow of it from me to them. I'm the chakra stone. You are the chakra stone. And it's absolutely, based off of everything I've read on them, a placebo effect. It's not to say there isn't magic there. The magic's in you. So now we're back to it's Dumbo's feather. The problem is with the second ethic is if you lack it, you tend to transfer your true power to everyone and everything else. You have given the chakra stone authority over you. That's what that is. And here's the thing is if it is man-made, it cannot make its way into the material plane. It cannot. There is no man-made anything over here. It's another reason how I know. It's exactly actually how I know when things are a lie. It's a lie if it's man-made. It's truth if it's nature-made. That's really what this comes down to. We're talking about man versus nature. That's all this is. And you've got people claiming that they have nature when it's man-made. Like tarot cards. Tarot cards are man-made. So far, the pentagram is not here. I have not seen, if anything, it's a logical fallacy. I believe it was made up by the Christians. There is substantial evidence that it was made up by the Christians. Halloween was made up by the Christians. I studied Freya. I studied the Sidkona. Most people don't know what Sidkona are. Sidkona are Freya's witches. The Sidkona are, Seid is their word for magic, S-E-I-D-R. Seid. The R is silent. And, well, depending upon which region of Norway, 3 of the 4 of them say it's silent. Only one of them pronounces the R. And then the other 3 mocks them for pronouncing the R. So I don't pronounce the R because I went with the majority. So, Seid Kona. Kona means woman. This is Old Norse. These are the people who we're in touch with Freya. Wiccan and all that jazz comes from Freya. And Freya had 2 cats. Freya was renowned for her 2 cats, which is where that link between witches and cats comes from. But a Sidkona was a woman who could control the 3 elements. There's a lot of information about the Sidkona. They had the ability of divination. They had the ability of, well, everything that's pretty much taught in Plato's school. They had it. When you look at the Sami next to the Sidkona and the Old Norse, there is a lot of correlation between what the Sami believe and Freya. The Sami did not use Freya. They did not personalize her. They did not deitize her. They had their own thing. And what we noticed was when I did the research, my altars were with me, so we have a we now. Well, on occasion. So what we noticed was the Sami went one direction with it, and the Viking Norse went another direction with it. Now, of all the places in all of the world, there is no place in the world where I can go, holy shit, they are justified to believe in a fucking God, because Norway is that way. You cannot be in Norway without believing in gods. It's not possible. You can't. Between the Aurora Borealis, a sun that never sets 6 times out of the year, and then seeing volcano, this is Icelandic, it's all Scandinavian, and then seeing volcano out of ice, that's Gunagagop. That is Gunagagop. Gunagagop is the creation myth in Scandinavian mythology, Norse mythology. Gunagagop was the great gap of how the earth was created. And basically fire poured out of ice, a volcano. And they have volcanoes in Iceland. Well, Greenland. Now I'm confused again. I know Greenland is ice. Iceland has all the kinds of weather in it. Greenland is a shit show. Greenland was named Greenland by Eric Bloodox. He was banished there for being an asshole. And when he got there, we should do that to our assholes. That would be a really easy, we're just going to banish you for being an asshole. So Bloodaxe was an asshole. They banished him, and he landed on Greenland. It was such a shitty place that he decided to call it Greenland to make it sound nice, so he could use it as a marketing campaign to convince people to settle there in shithole hell with him. It worked, and that is how Greenland became populated. That is exactly how Greenland got its name and became populated. Is Eric Bloodaxe called it Greenland when it was really a shithole, just so he could use it as a campaign to convince people to move there with him. And they did. So that is Greenland. Iceland does not have, it has the seasons. It has it fluctuates. But they have a lot of volcanoes there. Some beautiful volcanoes. So between the volcanoes on ice, the Aurora Borealis, a sun that doesn't set sometimes, it is really, really understandable how they believe in gods. Like when I did my research on Norway, I went, you guys, yeah, I can understand why you guys believe in gods. How can you not? So I think more than anyone, they really had a need to explain things. Rain, okay. Sun things, okay. Storms, okay. Aurora borealis, all right, let's explain this, please. Volcanoes coming out of ice, we need an explanation, please. Like, I can see where that would have taken priority with them. It's amazing how we have to understand stuff. We have to know the truth. We have to do it. So when you study all of the nature, you see common denominators. And then when you study man, you see those common denominators. So there's two groupings. There's man grouping and nature grouping. Man grouping is based off of fear. Nature grouping is based off of love. So when I crossed over, I was not overly attached to my spiritualism when I was there. I had it, I went through the phase, and I outgrew it. And that's just it. It's a phase, and you're supposed to outgrow the phase. If you are not outgrowing your phase, then you are not growing. So how long have you been holding on to chakra stones is the question. How long have you been holding on to X? If you're holding on to X and you're still holding on to it, you're not growing. So I'm sitting here with my I'm focusing on the phrase out of phase signals and in phase signals. And I'm noticing the correlation between this is just a phase versus outgrow. And now I'm going, this is fascinating to me because I'm seeing the comparisons. Daniel, can you please get your cat out of Lizzie's room? Dan? I have to, one moment. I got to go do a cat thing. Come on, baby. I know you should do that. Okay. Sorry and thank you. So, yeah, I'm looking at the out of phase and phase, and then I'm looking at the it's a phase. So, when I crossed over, I was dumbfounded at how little came with me. I was dumbfounded that there were no chakra stones. It was like night and day. It was night and day. I got there and there were no chakra stones. There were no pentagram. There was, at the hierarchy came down. The divine came down. It just came right down and it was like, oh, there's a tunnel. It's more like a tunnel. And I went, oh, there's a tunnel. There's no longer a ladder. There's a tunnel. And I realized the reason why I thought there was a ladder was because my perspective was that fucked up. I had to change my perspective to see the entire situation properly. It's like you're laying on your back, staring up at the stars, and then you start to think that everyone's ascending when you're laying on your back. You're not going to get the right perspective. That's exactly what it is. The only reason why you see a hierarchy is because you're at the bottom. That's the only reason why you're looking at a hierarchy is because you're at the bottom. If you can see a hierarchy, you're at the bottom. It's the only point of view that gives you a hierarchy. So if you're thinking in terms of, that's a really great way of putting it. If you see a hierarchy or a ladder, then you are at the bottom. But the thing is, you are at the bottom because you are in the second ethic, because you have not learned the second ethic. So you're going to see a hierarchy until you learn the second ethic. Once you realize, oh, there isn't a hierarchy, we're all equal, that's what happens. Suddenly, it becomes a tunnel because you've learned equality. So suddenly you realize everything is on this equilibrium, which coincides with Mother Nature. So the hierarchy is actually a lack of equilibrium, and you can't bring it in with you. So as soon as you cross into the seventh ethic, the very first thing you lose is the hierarchy. There is nothing after that. There is no competition. Competition ends. And it immediately goes over into this tunnel. There's no chakra stones. There's no chakras. There's no chakras. At the seventh, I had an EMF pulse over my head that blasted me and this other person to the ground. And I go, okay, that's when my crown opened. So I'm looking for anyone who can tell me that that did or did not happen to them. Because, again, I don't know if I'm special, or I don't know if your crown's not open. So until someone comes to me and says, that happened to me, okay, great. Now we have I need two people to tell me this. That way we can have data. So until we have data, that was an anomaly. So far, I've gotten 0 reports. Now, let's assume for a moment that I'm not special and that everybody has this happen to them. It means that so far, no one's crown chakra has opened, which means you're all dawdling around on the 6th ethic. So I'm looking at the tunnel, and I was dumbfounded at how much of that was man-made. The chakras, all of it. And I have really fucking good communication skills. So when I was working with my feelings, there's a process when you are working with language, a big process. There's interpretation. There is sculpting. There is translation. Well, before that, there is definition. So interpretation, sculpting, a definition, and then translation. So these stages are really tedious, and they require dissection, they require analysis, and it's paying very close attention to make sure that the word matches the feeling. This is vital, that you literally play around with words. Now, there's also a percentage. This is where dichotomy comes in, where you'll say a word and it will have like a 60% match. You'll say another word and it will have an 80% match. You want it to have a 100% match. If your word is not 100% matched to your feeling, it's not the right word. Now, where I'm at, there are no words. Your feelings evolve along a certain stage. So you only have X amount of feelings depending upon where you are in the spectrum. The more you evolve, the more feelings you're going to get. If you haven't mastered the basic foundational emotions, you are not going to get the other emotions. This is why that 7th ethic is blocked off from everybody who cannot pass it. Because the emotions that lie past this stage are uber fucking emotions. And if you don't have emotional discipline prior to this point, you're not touching those ones. This is literally a safety valve Mother Nature has put in place for us, that until you are emotionally disciplined, you are not going forward. Not allowed. It's literally like no unemotionally disciplined people allowed. Because the amount of emotions that start to come after that point are a whole nother fucking level. That if you don't have those under control, you are going to hurt someone. So, and this was it. When my 7th opened, when my crown opened, I could see my energy hurting other people. And I immediately went, oh, no, I need to control this. So I sealed it up and I muted it and pulled it back until I learned how to control it. I did not start mingling with people until I had this completely figured out. There are emotions that come with that. The emotion of, I need to isolate myself to get away from people to protect them from me. This is an advanced emotional mindset that most people cannot fathom. That I am so dangerous, I need to get away from them. We see it occasionally in movies, but it's very rare. And It's being honest with yourself of, can I be around people without harming them? It's a really difficult challenge. And it lasts about 24 levels. So the isolation period is when you are most powerful and you have the least control. It's literally you coming into your own power. And this is the process between the 7th ethic of the I of I, and it goes all the way up to all the way at the end. The 31st ethic is when it finally ended. The 31st level. When it finally got to that point, that's when it was like, all right, I can control this now. Now I can start playing with people again. And that's when I slowly started to bring down the shield, open myself back up, using the 2nd ethic for vulnerability. And then I was able to gauge, okay. And now it's like, all right. So one of the things that, I was explaining this, that about 90% of the spiritual bullshit that comes out of spirituality is bullshit. It's not here. It's not here at all. There's nothing. I was dumbfounded. And I never really talked about that because it wasn't here. I only talked about what was here. So go back to my videos, watch them, see what I'm talking about. By the time I get to the 10th ethic, which is the door, they're completely gone. They're completely gone. The concept of God, deity, by the 11th ethic, it didn't matter. Wasn't the point. It was a completely different world. Everything. And then when I got back to it, when I went back to that community and I heard what they were talking about, I went, now I can understand it. Now I have perspective. Now I can understand. It's bullshit. It's absolutely, they have transferred all of their personal magic and power into these concepts. And now they're worshiping the concepts that they've infused with their power. It's like a witch from Harry Potter who doesn't know she's a witch. So she's transferred all of her power into a doll. And the doll comes to life and talks to her. She created the doll. And she thinks the doll is its own thing. She gets into an argument with the doll. This is going to make a really fucking good book. The doll grows in power because she's growing in power. So she's infusing power into this. She wishes free will onto the doll. The doll gets even bigger, stronger. Now the doll is lording over her. And as she's becoming afraid of the doll becomes more powerful. The doll is still 100% her power. Now she gets into this perspective of, oh my God, the power is my God. Now she starts worshiping the God, completely oblivious to the fact that she's the one who created the doll to begin with. And it's all because of her relationship with the 2nd ethic. I see this all the time. This is what the 2nd ethic trial is. It's all about you disciplining your authority. But if you're constantly crediting other people with your own magic, you failed. You have failed. This is all the 2nd ethic is about. So these people who cling to their chakra stones, it's literally passing on this concept into Dumbo's feather. It's a placebo effect because the power is you. But instead of saying, I am awesome, which is self-esteem, you say, oh no, the chakra stones have all the power. Say it. I am awesome. I am the one with the power. It's mine. I'm the one who gets me through this. I'm the one who ABC. This is self-esteem. It's so foreign to most people that you guys mistake self-esteem for arrogance. Self-esteem is not arrogance. You guys have no fucking idea what it is. I read Dr. Nathaniel Branden's 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem, and he breaks down what self-esteem is. And I went, oh, people call that arrogance. Wow, we're stupid. And I had to learn that arrogance was not self-esteem, that self-esteem was not arrogant. So when I have self-esteem and I'm going, yes, I am awesome, I get people calling me arrogant. And I want to say to them, are you that stupid? That's self-esteem, dipshit. It means I'm proud of me. I should be. We all should be. It's called the 2nd ethic. So now I get people who violate the second ethic by transferring their self-esteem over to a bunch of stones. Well, that's how stupid they are. They've given rocks more power than themselves. Like, we're talking really stupid. I mean, there's no other way to put it. The science is substantially proving that it's placebo effect. And after what I went through with my own, I went, oh, now this is the little logical contradiction in my mind. But if they're magical, Anna, and they believe that the stones are magical, then wouldn't the stones be magical? Yes, the stones would be magical, but never discredit the source of the power. The question is, where is the source of the power? Now, if you know your source of power is you and you want to make magical stones, by all means, make magical stones. But don't make magical stones because you are that stupid about your own power. And that's the problem. If you want to make magical stones, then by all means, magical stones. I am a mermaid because I want to be a mermaid, because I am going to reverse engineer the scientific code of being a mermaid. I'm there. I'm working on it so I can be a mermaid. But the power comes from me. It's my power. And this is the difference. It's not a question of whether or not the chakra stones are powerful. The question is, where are they getting their power from? You, dipshit, because science says placebo effect, which means the power is all you. But you would rather literally put yourself a doormat to a chakra stone, like stupid. So a lot of people confuse self-esteem with arrogance, and they don't know the difference. Once I figured out what self-esteem was, I went, okay, well then what the fuck is arrogance? Suddenly arrogance had no meaning to it. I couldn't understand what arrogance was. Because what I call self-esteem, what is self-esteem, that Dr. Nathaniel Branden taught me. I'm sitting here going, okay, so this is self-esteem. Well, then what the fuck is arrogance? I had no idea what arrogance was for a long time. I was practicing self-esteem. So I practiced self-esteem all over the fuck place. And people go, you're arrogant. No, that is self-esteem. You've never had it. You wouldn't know what it looks like. So you start doing self-esteem. You practice self-esteem. You get really good at self-esteem. You start to notice people sitting there getting pissed off at you because you got self-esteem. But now you can understand that when you have self-esteem, it's not harming anybody. Me telling me and you how awesome I am doesn't fucking hurt anybody. There's no pain. It's my self-esteem. And I'm going, wow. I use my relative I have my ratio to make sure it stays balanced in check so that I know I need to be learning at certain times. I know when I need to learn. So I have this massive knowledge metric. So I always know how smart I am in relativity to X. And then I have my meter of look at how stupid I was. Look at how smart I am now. Well, I have come a long way. Pride, self-esteem. While also still being very down to earth and realistic. I hate that word. We're not going to use it. Down to earth about what I can and can't do, while I'm also looking at the down to earthness of what more work I have to do and where I have to learn a lesson. I know exactly where I have to learn my lessons because I know how to navigate my feelings to go, oh, this is a lesson that needs to be learned. Oh, this is the lesson over here that I should be learning. So I'm constantly moving, so I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly putting myself in a position to make sure that I'm always absorbing the most lessons possible. So learning how to balance your self-esteem with your pride, with your being down to earth about how stupid you are is vital to you knowing where and who you are. So now I'm asking the question, where does that leave arrogance? Well, arrogance is literally a refusal to learn. And that is when ignorant, which by the way is related to the word arrogant, ignorant. Have you noticed the words are almost identical? This was very interesting to me, how arrogant and ignorant are related. Ignorance starts first. Arrogance comes last. I am not ignorant because I have an entire thing here that keeps me educated. So I have relativity too. I know how to measure my knowledge. I know how to eat humble pie when it's my turn to submit to learning. The thing is, If you always stay in a learning mind, you almost never can be humbled. The more humbled you are, well, no, being humbled regularly is actually good. I get humbled every goddamn time I upgrade my new ethic. That's something that just comes with the territory. I got a whole helping of humbled pie last night. It was a brutal one. I expanded. I had a perspective expansion, and I got the next wave of, oh, kindness. And I went, oh, this is where kindness is. Fascinating that kindness comes to me here at the 46th level. And I'm going, fascinating. Why is kindness coming in at the 46th level? Which tells me that from this point on, it's really fucking important that I'm nice. No, that I'm kind. And I went, oh, power is coming. Yeah, you don't get that kind of power that's coming unless you are fucking kind. Yeah, you got to be kind. So at the 46th level, I felt this massive wave of kindness. The ethic kindness came in. And I went, whoa, this is a new ethic. This is a new feeling. Kindness. And then I went, oh, everyone's trying to be this ethic, but no one's actually seen it or felt it. I see now. You should never prioritize kindness over truth. Never. You should never do it. And then I had all the guilt and all the horrible feelings of, oh my God, I have been such an asshole to a lot of people. And of all the times I've been humbled, that one really hit me hard. And I went, okay, I deserved it. Absolutely. I accepted it. I ate my pie. And then I had this woman approach me, and she asked me, I want to know what you saw. I said, none of it was real. None of it came over. It's all man-made. 90% of what spiritual people believe in is just another religion. Spirituality is officially just another religion. And they have made all the same mistakes. All the same mistakes that all the other religions have made. Spirituality is officially just one more fucking religion. And I went, wow. Wow. So I'm looking at something like that, going, I've done so much research on ethics, spirituality, religion, Christ, church, the history of, and ancient texts. It's disgusting. I have spent more time analyzing that shit than anything else. A religion is a lifestyle. Really, it's just a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle that focuses on your mental health. That's all it is. It is a mental health or mental mindfulness religion. And I'm going to call this the breath because it is the only scientific name I can identify with this thing that isn't stupid, spiritual, biased, frou-frou, or fluff. The breath. Now, I'm a huge, huge fan of meditation. And I am very, very there's a lot of Eastern stuff that I absolutely adore. I did a lot of research in the Eastern traditions. It's weird because I studied the philosophies. I studied the religions. I studied the psychology. I never studied the history or the language. It's fascinating to me. I never studied the history or the language. I never studied it. That is so fucking weird of me. But I studied everything else that was of that culture, of the Eastern mind. And the problem is they're stuck with the second ethic too. And the seventh, and the Buddhists don't even grow past the seventh. They are the biggest oasis people in the world. That's why they haven't changed. You're supposed to change. You're a changeling. So if you're not changing, that's a problem. But it's a different kind of changing. Changing is growth. So you have people literally afraid of change, which is afraid of growth. So I'm going to call it the breath in honor of the Eastern cultures. The breath. There is no other word I can use to explain this. A lot of people refer to it as the energy. Some people refer to it as a soul. The soul would probably be the next closest thing, but that is way too Christian, and I can't touch it. But it's the breath. Now, the beautiful thing about the science of the breath is it is life itself. And then when I sat down and looked at logic and the life formula, it both came back to the breath. The breath is here. The breath is here. But it's not energy. It's not soul. It's not the spirit, which means breath. Inspiration is aspiration or a respirator. Spir, S-P-I. S-P-I actually is Latin for breath. So I'm looking at the breath, and that's here. The breath is here. But the Eastern cultures have that figured out. They had it figured out a long time ago. They've got other stuff that is in their way, and now they're stuck. A lot of them are stuck. A lot of them No, I see what it is. See, I can see where man interferes with it. And I can see where their traditions and their emperors merged into their breath. The science of breath, their breath science. I'm going to call it breath science. No, breath discipline. That's what it needs to be, is discipline. Their breath discipline. And that's really it. It's a discipline. You should not have a religion. You should have a discipline. Which is why when you get into a dojo, it becomes about discipline and not religion. As soon as you throw religion and spirituality in it, you start losing perspective. And when I saw what it was, when I could see the energy and when I could see the force and when I could see the frequency, I went, whoa, I can see how everything's moving. Energy, force, frequency. Okay. All right then. What the fuck is this? And I very clearly saw this thing that it's this thing. And I went through many names for it. Ethos. I didn't know what to call it, but it definitely was not what everything else is. And I feel it here, by the way. I feel it at the heart chakra. And I feel it radiate like a pulse from the heart chakra where it like spans out. And when that took place, like I can feel like a bullseye, heart chakra, and then it goes like this, and then it goes like that. That's what I feel. That's here. And now I'm looking at the chakra maps and the chakra stones, and I'm going, and I've asked people, where is your science to back up that? There is no science to back up that bullshit. And when you get here, it's not even here. So it's not inside. See, so this is the beautiful thing about science. Science is the only thing that can cross between both worlds so far. Math is here, physics is here. But those beautiful assholes of scientists crawled into the abstract, grabbed this stuff, and then took it over there with them. So it's in both worlds. The science can go into both worlds. The nature can go into both worlds. So far, the nature and science, which is the language of nature, can go back and forth. Those are the only two things so far that have been completely consistent, is the nature and the science. But now you've got this natural religion that, okay, well, you got the right God. You just, now they've just got all this folklore wrapped around it. And now it's just becoming ridiculous. So this is actually one of those things where I will have people invite me to speak. I'll step in and they just want to use my science to prove their spiritual bullshit. And I'm at a point where I'm getting offended by it because they're not here for the science. They're not here for the nature. They just want to know that they're right. So now we're talking about just their ego. And that's what this comes down to. They flout that they want knowledge, but really what they're doing is ego. Because as soon as they get the ego validation, they're not interested in the science. And I'm going, fascinating. Now, I'm seeing people's truth like that, where I have people who come in and they love my work and they're excited because the science is starting to validate some of this stuff out here. The problem is I've had Christians do this with me. I've had Mormons do this with me. I've had Muslims do this with me. I have had spiritual people do this with me. So I'm getting a different point of view from all of my work, where I'm watching all of you fucking assholes come to me and ask me to validate your fucking ego. It's not about the science. It's not about the truth. It's about your stupid ego. So now this is something I've got to process, because now I'm pissed off. I'm pissed off because you're still missing the point. And instead of just saying, I'm not interested in the truth or the science, I just want my ego groomed. I am not an ego pusher. There's nothing I fucking hate more than ego. I don't tolerate my ego. What makes you think I'm going to tolerate yours? And then I've got people who see my self-esteem and they think that's ego. No. Freud was a fuck moron. So it's infuriating, because the only reason why we have all of this problem is due to a lack of communication breakdown. And I noticed that communication breakdown is most in relativity to how stupid a person is or is not. So now you've got people who have made a religion denying that it's a religion. So they have a religion in denial. That's what spirituality is. You may use that, please. That's hilarious. It's a religion in denial. 90% of it is man-made. It's not even nature. It is absolutely saturated with Dumbo's feather. We're going to call that the Dumbo's feather paradigm. And it is completely void of the second ethic, and it is a copycat of religious people while being in denial. They still prioritize the ego over truth. And when all else fails, they fall back on the, well, that's my opinion and that's how I feel. The problem is you are a lot more than your feelings. But because you can't get past your stupid feelings, you're never going to figure out that you're much more than just your feelings. And that's really what this comes down to. It's an ethical progression. Stage 1 are your feelings. Stage 2 is your communication interpretation, your ability to interpret. Stage 4 is your ability to articulate and use words to defend. It is literally a communication progression. That is what this is, a communication progression. So that the deeper into this you go, the more you can communicate. But if you're still talking about just your feelings, well, you haven't made it out of the gate. If you think you are just your feelings, you are still in stage 1. You're supposed to grow beyond your feelings to know that there's more here. But these are people who cannot interpret, articulate, define. So now you've got people who are so crippled with growth that they have created a religion in denial. And now they're arguing over, and there's this massive schism that's now happening with light workers, where they're all claiming to be light workers, and it's all just bullshit overflowing onto each other. Now they're competing with each other. Now they're arguing with each other. It's bullshit. It is absolutely bullshit. It took me a long time to learn that when they refer to the divine, they're actually referring to Mother Nature. A long time to realize that the feminine divine is actually Mother Nature. And by the way, she does not like being called that. She fucking hates it. It violates the ethics. So I'm looking at this going, okay, so you've got the mother nature, the nature. That's what the Sami call her, is the nature. And then there's some places that just call her the mother. Now, the reason why she's referred to as the mother is because she is the nourisher. She nourishes. That's why she's referred to as the mother. She's just a nourisher. So really, it's natural nourisher. And this is really like the epitome of how stupid the human race is we have this nature versus nurture. What makes you think those are competitions? It's nature is nurture. It's the same thing. For God's sakes, look at the word. Nature and nurture are the exact same word, because nature and nurture is the same thing. Nature nourishes. The problem is people don't even know what nature looks like. They think, oh, nature are trees. No, guys, that's ecology. That is not nature. Nature is what is natural, what is original, what is authentic. That is nature. But if you don't know what authentic, original, or natural is, you're not going to have a clue. So now you've got a lot of fake people called spiritualists trying to break down what they think is authentic and natural while being phonies. It feels really good to call the black pot a black pot. You have no idea how satisfying this is to correct my logical code. Going, yep, there it is. There's the misalignment. They are narcissists because they are presenting themselves as A when they are really B. Now we have narcissism again. Look at that. Because now you're talking about cowards because they lack courage, because they won't let go of their emotional prosthetics, which is all of their placebo-affected chakra stones. You are now looking at a group of people who are also magicians, and not in the good way, in the narcissist way, because now they're going to wield magic tricks in order to basically make themselves delusional. And this is really it's a delusion if it's not true. If it's true, it's not a delusion. And this is really solid. You don't get to play with the fucking magic if you don't even have the ability to grasp truth. Because while you're turning yourself into a dragon, believe me, it's coming. It's going to be fucking awesome. If you don't know that your true form is a changeling, how are you going to change back, dumbass? You've got to have a solid relationship with truth in order to pull this off. It's logical. But if you, I'm going to totally come down with this whole thing of, magic is real, it's science, but you don't get to touch it without the science. You'd be a danger to yourself, to society, to everybody. If you can't get the truth, you are a threat to society. It's fascinating. The truth only threatens abusers. It's everybody else that's a threat to society. The only way you can remain not being a threat to everybody else is by knowing the truth. So now you have relativity of where your power is and your knowledge is in retrospect, in relativity to truth. I don't know what retrospect means. Let me take a look at that. Hindsight. Backward looking. That's a really nice way. Backward looking. I backward looking all the time. Spective, perspective, retrospective. Oh, I'm so glad I have this in my, I needed this word. Retrospective, perspective. Now I'm looking at that going, let's look up what per, it is a prefix, etymology. The prefix per comes from the Latin through, thoroughly, completely or very. Pervert, a person who has completely turned away from what is normal. Perverted, invert, introverted, vert, to turn away or around from. Pervert, fascinating. Perfect, something that has been done thoroughly or completely. Permanent, something that stays intact through the years. So through. Perspective means looking through. That makes sense. Retrospect means looking back. You know what this reminds me of? The Greek mythology with Prometheus and Epimetheus. That is what this reminds me of. Perspective retrospective would be Prometheus. Prometheus is retrospective. Epimetheus would be perspective. That would not be true, because that's a forward. That's your ability to see into the future. That's foresight. I would not call perspective foresight. Not at all. So I would say it's retrospective, perspective, and then Epimetheus. I don't know if there's a word for what Epimetheus is. And you have to be able to do all three of them. So retrospective is what I refer to as double projection, because I project myself forward and then I look back. That way I can look at myself in the present and go, do you like what you're doing right now? And then I have to answer to myself. That's really the worst. I hate answering to myself. So they are also, I wouldn't call them salesmen. They have developed a very, that's my opinion and I'm sticking to it. I'm not going to bother educating myself anymore. So they have a very, so I wouldn't call them salesmen. They have literally turned the delusion on themselves because of the completely, like, it's an entirely different kind of person. It's like inverted narcissism. That's what it is. It's inverted narcissism. They've done it to themselves. They're their own narcissist at that point. It's self-narcissism. Just give me a minute. I'm running through the logic and it's all adding up. Give me a minute. Yep, it is inverted narcissism. The 6 perspectives have inverted narcissism. The spiritualists, inverted narcissism. That explains everything. Okay, that's the oasis. That is the oasis. It's where you go when you are an inverted narcissist. That explains everything. Empaths fall there. There it is. That checks out. Check, check, check. This is where all the logical pieces add up. When you have a logical consistency, all of the supporting evidence floods right in, matches right up, and clicks into place. And then you go, oh, there's the missing piece. Exactly like in a puzzle. It is a huge validation that you have truth. When you speak truth and you have all this other stuff flowing in to validate it, oh, you are on truth. And then the biology lines up, the psychology lines up, the physics shows up, the math and the logic, but it all shows up in the right order of operations. Always. It always goes logic, math, physics, and then it goes ontology, chemistry, biology. And then you go, oh, when you get to biology, oh, you have flawless logic. When the biology shows up, flawless, like game, set, match, it's done. That is Mother Nature saying, yeah, I just did your check for you. I learned how to make decisions based off of that process. I learned how to move around that process. I learned how to, and this is what I teach you in Triadic Healing. I learned how to decipher truth on the dime of, I'm going to do X, I see X, I believe it's X, I can feel it. So you're supposed to feel your feelings, and then you're supposed to carve and define them with word. You're supposed to interpret them. And then once you shape them, you're supposed to get it logically correct. Now, once you get a 100% logical match to the word, And the feeling, the math shows up, and then the physics shows up, and then the rest of it shows up. And if it doesn't show up, then you have a logical fallacy. So now it's an ability to measure whether or not you've got the truth, because the truth will show up. You know it's right when. Which is why I know that chakra stones are bullshit, is because there's no math, physics, or logic there. There's nothing there. There's a placebo effect. So once you realize that you are the chakra stone and it switches over to you, oh, I'm the chakra stone. And instead of focusing on your own power, the inverted narcissist will cling to the chakra stone and focus on that. It's a red herring. So now they've created a religion in denial that is also a distraction to everything they preach. It is now distracting them from their preach, from their preach. Now they are hypocrites, and they are no different than every other religion out there. So I got these inverted narcissists who are using me to flate their ego. And now I get to sit back and go back to the narcissist gear. All right, why am I attracting inverted narcissists? Well, because you have what they want. Science to prove their bullshit. Yeah, but it's not their bullshit. And you need to communicate that. I do need to communicate this better. That I am not for spiritualists. There, that's it right there. I refuse to use the word spirit. It's dirty. I like to use the word the breath, because that's a whole lot of fucking truth, and you can't flower that with bullshit. It's called the breath. And this is really where, when you decorate and flower a word, it's called purple prose. It's actually something we learn in, in writing. Now, I love purple prose. Purple prose is purple prose without purpose. If you have purpose, it is no longer purple prose. You must have purpose with your flowery, gorgeous language in order for it to not be purple prose. This is where a lot of people fuck this up. If you want to be a writer, you can use flowery language style, but it has to have a purpose. If it is not with purpose, it becomes purple prose. I love flowery, gorgeous styled language. I love it. I studied a lot of it. So when I wrote, it was vital to me that I have this gorgeous flowery style. But then I had a lot of people who would read my flowery style and they would ask me, isn't that purple prose? So I had to reverse engineer and break down what purple prose was. That purple prose is flowery style language for no reason other than to be flowery and pretty. If it's not relevant to the story, then what are you doing? But when it's your actual style and you tell the entire story, see, purple prose is something that comes in, throws itself in there, and then leaves. That's inauthentic. But if your entire style is pure purple prose and you have an entire purpose to tell with your entire story, and the entire story is just dripping with that gorgeous flowery style, it's not purple prose. You have to have purpose. So I was the person who loved purple prose so much, the concept and the style of it, that I analyzed it and went, oh no, I'm going to use this. This is going to become my style. So it is my style. When I write, I very much write in that style of that flowery, rhythmic, gorgeous. I love, this is me painting. I love, if words are like paintings, words are exactly like paintings. You have abstract painters. Well, we have abstract word people. Mine is, I don't know. It would be the garden swing. The swing painting is what it was called. This Jean-Honoré Fragonard. Jean-Honoré Fragonard. That's not Honoré. I don't know how to pronounce that name. Fragonard. That is my style of writing. My style of writing is in the style of Fragonard. I'm very proud of this. In the last decades of the ancient regime. Yes, I am very, very happy about this. This is something I am very, very ecstatic about. Yes, I am very much, this is how I write. Yes. Yep. My writing style is like Frank Gonnard. I love this. That is exactly my style. It hangs in the Louvre. All right. Now I need to go to the Louvre because I can just stand there and look at Frank Gonnard and go, this is how I write. This is how I write. So now I understand. It's amazing. It's amazing how much I got to figure out how to not attract that type of narcissist now. So I got to think about this because there's keywords that draw them in. That's the first thing. It's all about the language. Back to the language. Let's analyze this. Now, these are inverted narcissists. So they're not dangerous to me, but they still use people. And they're still delusional and broken. Really delusional. Dangerous illusion. Dangerous illusion. So we are looking at how do I do this? I know how to do this. I have to think about this. I'm trying to figure out how I ended up attracting them to begin with. I don't use the majority of the language they use. Oh, I know what it was. See, the group that I have now, yeah, I 6 perspectives is not at all who I need to be doing this with. I'm back to the scientists. I have to go full scientist with this. I have to go full scientist with this. Scientist is the right religion. There you go, guys. Scientist is the right religion. Scientists have it figured out. They're growing. They're translating nature. They actually can speak natural language. Yeah, scientists are the right religion. Scientists are the right one. And yeah, and it's funny because every religion has like a fraction. I would say every religion has about 10% of what they're doing correct. About 10% of what they're doing correct. It's literally like a little itty bitty piece. And spiritualists have even less so. They've got the 5th and the 6th perspective figured out, and that's it. And what they are talking about is exactly the way it is. The 5th and the 6th perspective, they've got it nailed. They are describing only the 6th perspective. They like to talk like they're describing the rest of it, but they're not. They are only describing the 6th perspective, which hasn't even opened the door. And that is it right there. They have forgotten their own lies. They have forgotten their own lies. You cannot go into the 7th until you can start tracking it. Like there's a checklist. It's all making sense now. Like the whole thing is starting to make sense now. See, this is why I fucking hate narcissists, is because it's a delusion. Because as soon as you start talking to narcissists, you get confused because they're not dealing with the truth. They're not dealing with the truth. And then they'll argue with you until you get it down to that, well, that's my opinion. Do you know that that's like a fail-safe quitting the conversation because you can't do logic? And I'm seeing it now. And it's like, and this is why I'm like, no, there's no opinions. I had one person who was in my group and she was like, I can't be in a place where my opinion isn't tolerated. Yeah, that's right. Like, have you been to a school? Like, since when is your opinion tolerated at a university? And teachers do the same thing. You walk into university and there are some professors, I'm this professor. This is the difference between school and actual university. You walk into university and you're going to have professors saying, I don't want your opinion. You are not here for your opinion. You're here to learn. And and I can see where professors are getting really frustrated. I see professors really absorbing my work. When they hear it, it's like, oh my God, you know how to, yeah, I know how to teach. I learned from Plato. Like he humbled the fuck out of my ass. You don't know humiliation until you've had Plato humiliate you. So fuck you all. You don't know. You don't know. He was like a year of me going, yep, I am really fucking stupid. It took me like, I had to like, all right, I can do this. Arrogance. I can be arrogant. It only turns out it wasn't arrogance at all. It was self-esteem. Self-esteem. What you think is arrogance is self-esteem. Good God, self-esteem is everything. Dr. Nathaniel Branden. So, scientists are really, and it's funny because I've spoken to so many of them, and they're at a point where they're like, spirituality is real. But they're in the same boat I am, where they're using the same language. And now it's like, okay, we can't use that language. So I'm going to call it the breath. It's just the breath. Let me see if there's a... I'm a breather. That would make an awesome religion title. I'm a breather. Research is easily one of my favorite things to do. Knowing how to research is vital to everything. How to research. And the internet really made it so simple. I remember when I first started researching, I had the Dewey Decimal System, and you just had to go by titles. You looked up keywords, and that linked you over to titles. And I did this. I just got all the books. And then I would look at the first few sentences of all the books. And the first few sentences of all of the books would break down the person's communication skills. Einstein, if you cannot explain it simply enough, then you do not understand it well enough. So I would get into I would read the first chapter. And if they could communicate to me, then it was like, all right, I understand this simply enough. And I learned, and this was a period of my life where I just trained my brain to read very quickly to determine a person's ability to communicate. And if they could not communicate, then they were idiots. And it all came down to communication. And it still comes down to communication. It still comes down to communication. It's all making sense. Like as soon as I realized, oh, the Oasis people are inverted narcissism, that makes so much more sense. Click, the world makes sense now. Okay. So this is another form of evolved narcissism that I did not know about, that looks exactly like all the other narcissists, except they've inverted it on themselves. They have become the narcissist that consumes itself. They are self-consuming narcissism. Self-consuming, all narcissism is self-consuming, but they really are self-consuming. So now it's making sense. So much sense. So much sense. So now stepping back from that, my problem is, and it keeps coming back to, I only want truth seekers. My whole radical global healing plan was going to center on the sixth perspective, because they can feel shit, which means, oh, they know it's right. And they do. They feel my work and they're like, your work is right. It feels right. But then they get here and their narcissism disrupts their learning. And now it's narcissism versus the feeling. And then they want me to say what they want me to say. And I'm like, no. So now I become hostile because I'll be working here and then I'll get off and then I'll talk to other people and they'll sit there and argue. Well, I want you to say this. Well, what about this? No, I am not your little fucking lapdog. I'm not here to appease your ego. I'm here for the science and the truth. Is the science matching up to your religion? Sometimes yes, but it's matching all of them. It's literally matching up to about 10% of all religions. So 10% of Christianity is right. 10% of the Islam religion is right. Honestly, more and more. I have met more Muslims in the last 2 months that act more Christ-like than anybody. I have met more Muslims over the last 2 weeks, or I'm sorry, 2 months, who act more Christ-like than anyone else I've met. It's astounding. I remember I was talking to this gentleman. I said, wow, you've got the Christ thing down. You're a Muslim and you have figured out Christ's philosophy and his lifestyle more than most Christians. Kudos to you. Most amazing ethical man I have ever met in all my life. And he was a billionaire. Gorgeous man. I learned from him, and it was a fucking honor. It was a fucking honor. I am still thinking about the lessons he taught me. When you hoard your beliefs like they are your identity, that's a problem. When you prioritize your belief above all else, that's a problem. Your belief should never. This is literally all about the domination submission game. The reason why there's no hierarchy is because truth has got game. That's why. Because you don't have a fucking chance against truth. None of us do. That's why there's no hierarchy. It's because that's truth's game. And if you're playing the hierarchy game, you're competing with truth. That's why hierarchy is such a bunch of bullshit. You are on equal footing with the rest of us, where we constantly have to weigh in where we are in relativity to the truth. So we always know, oh, this is where we belong. We are truth's little bitch. And the minute you start playing the hierarchy game, you start challenging truth. You're going to lose. And this, again, we're right back to the only ones who compete against truth is ego. So either you are competing with truth with ego, or you're on equal footing. And you are on the same foot with everybody else, knowing that truth is God and you don't. There's just nothing else. Not even God is exempt from truth. The truth is what it is. And the truth is, well, it's evolution, which is also creation, which is also growth, which is also learning, which is also love, which is also logic. See, think of it this way. I've been trying to explain this one for quite a while. How do I explain this? Let me think. You have a picture. You have a picture. And you're going to have a frame to the picture. You're going to have a picture in the picture. You're going to have the artist of the picture. You're going to have the canvas of the picture. And then you're going to have the owner of the picture. So the picture is still the picture, but it is made up of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 components. The picture is the integrated whole of these 5 components. This is integrated mathematics, people. You guys are all arguing over whose component is right. There it is. Christians have one component. Islam has another component. Spiritualists have another component. Buddhists have another component. And instead of putting the components together to integrate, to see what your picture is, you're all competing with each other, claiming that you all know better than truth and that every one of your components is better than everybody else's. And you want the glory of being told that you are 100% right, while you are competing with the other 4 components in the picture. You failed. You failed. The moral of the lesson is stone soup that bitch. but you're not stone souping it. You're competing over whose ingredients are better than everybody else's. So then I get these people who come over and they want me, they find that I match 10% of what they've got and they get excited over a 10% match. And then they come over and they want to hear more from me and they absolutely drill me. And as soon as I validate that 10%, they get excited. And then they want me to validate 20%, but there's nothing more to validate. And then they get pissed off at me and aggressive because I refuse to lie to them because no, the rest of the stuff you have doesn't match. So in spirituality, what does match? The triangles. When you see the network of triangles, that's here. That is here. That's the only thing that made it. That is it. It looks like the Star of David, but it's not. Let me see if I can look this up. It's not the Star of David. And I think the difference between, no, it's not the pentagram. I don't remember what this other thing is called. There is like this other thing here. Now the seal of Solomon. Now that is here. That is here. The Star of David is an evolution. It's an evolved version of the Seal of Solomon. Now the Seal of Solomon looks familiar. Oh, that's here. But it would be here. I'm reading a second perspective translation of something and I'm going, oh my God. Yeah, that is here. Wow, I see a whole lot of second perspective just. So it is often depicted in the shape of either a pentagram or a hexagram. It's a hexagram over here. In mystic Islamic and Jewish lore, the ring is variously described as having given Solomon the power to command the supernatural. Yes. Including Shaitan and Jinn. Yes. And also the ability to speak with animals. Yes. Due to the proverbial wisdom of Solomon, it can be seen as an amulet and talisman or a symbol or character in medieval magic. No. And Renaissance magic. No. Occultism and alchemy. No. Alchemy. Yes. Alchemy, yes, but alchemy is in Plato's alchemy, not that other stuff. So, and that's how I read things. I'm going, yep, it's here. Yep, it's here. No, it's not here. And that's it right there. Once you start to, yeah. I do not know where there's another star. But yeah, Solomon seal is definitely, yeah, that's here. So that's where, in the triangles, when you see the network, it's, when I see it, to me, it's just a bunch of molecules. It's a molecule network. That's here. And the molecule network, and I wish I could explain it. It's when you see all those triangles and then the triangles, that's molecule, that's chemistry. That's chemistry. So the only part of spiritualism that actually, or spirituality that actually is legit is the chemistry part. It's the molecular network. That is the only part that actually comes over, which is the science part. Everything else is false. All of it. All of it's garbage. The only thing they got right was the molecular network. That's it. The chakra is heart chakra, and then it goes out from there in like a radiant, and that's it. So there are levels. Now, prior to coming over, you can feel the progression of A to B to C, but then once you cross over, that's gone. They did a great job reporting on what it's like prior to entering the abstract, and that's it. Which is why when I hear them talk, I'm like, oh, you're not in here. It's because you're still talking like that. You're talking about the sixth perspective. The problem is they have deluded themselves to think that their present is the future. And that's their idiocy, is they have confused their present with the future, which is actually part of the process, is you are starting to shift from your present into your future. And then you realize, oh, the future comes first over here. And that has already started to take effect. But because they don't have any relativity to the truth, they are losing orientation of the self because they haven't switched over, which is now why we call it the metaphysical transformation, is because unless you ground yourself in knowing who you are in relative to the truth, you're not going to be able to cross over. You're going to get stuck in the oasis. So now I'm looking at this, and here's the thing. People have caught on that you don't talk to psychologists about this stuff because they'll call you schizophrenic, they'll put you on meds and lock you up. And so people have learned not to talk about this to psychologists. And I did not talk to my psychologist. I was not. Well, they tested me for schizophrenia. That was like one of the first things they did was they tested me for schizophrenia. And they told me I did not have schizophrenia. So I've already been tested. And no, I do not have schizophrenia. Now, when I finally went through the metaphysical transformation, I was like, oh no, I get it. Now I get it. But yeah, I do not talk. And then it passed. It was like from the 6th perspective to the 10th, and then it passed. And it was like, oh, it's just a phase. It's the transformation. The transformation is when you are reorienting yourself into the truth. So you basically, when we are born, you are aligned to the truth. And then man, society fucks you up and it realigns you to a false core. So that's where they make you they give you the center as the sun. They give you the center as a religion. They give you a center as the job. They give you the center. So they give you all these different alternative centers. So you end up, imagine an idol is actually, well, I call it the rod of truth. The rod of truth is a proverbial point at the point of comprehension. And it's literally this is the truth. And you have to be relative to the truth. If you're not relative to the truth, then you're going to be relative to fiction, to bullshit. And it's going to be, this is what they meant when, this is what Christ meant when he said, you do not build your house on sand. House on sand. Why did he speak in such confusing metaphor for people? And I want to know, did he say this and his stupid idiot disciples translated wrong? Like, what the fuck is this shit? Was this them trying to dumb it down for these morons to understand? Because it's just, so I'm going to translate the whole parable of building your house on sand versus on rock. He was referring to, you need to make sure that you are centered to the truth. And when you build your house on rock, you are centering your entire existence to the rod of truth. That's what that means. If you're building on sand, it means that you have literally placed your entire relativity on something that doesn't sustain you. That rod of truth that you are center relative to will sustain you. Ethics is how you find it. So ethics and logic is how you find it. But if you don't have ethics or logic, you're not going to be able to find it. Now you're just floating around all over the place. So that you are using, we're going to call it a buoy. You are using a buoy as your rod of truth to stay afloat. And that's it. You are using a buoy as your rod of truth. You're not using truth. You're using the buoy. You only get to use the truth when you're using ethics and logic to find the truth. Once you have the ethics and logic to find the truth, you have the truth. Now you know your relativity to the truth. Now you can go, oh, that's bullshit. Oh, that's legit. Now you have the ability to determine bullshit from truth. But you have to get really comfortable with being with the truth, which is going to bring into discussion your ethics. And this is a really hard topic for a lot of people. So now when you are looking at your buoy, when you are so you basically are born aligned with truth, and then people say no, you can't have the truth, you need to be aligned with the buoy. So then you are centered on a buoy, and when you get to the sixth perspective, you start to gravitate back toward the truth, but you think the buoy is truth. So you're going to cling to the buoy while Mother Nature pulls you toward the truth. Now, what ends up happening is you do this. This coffee represents the buoy, and there's the truth. So as you pull, you do this. You're like, no. So then you start to get pulled toward the truth, and you drag the buoy along with you. And then you get to the door, and there's no letting the buoy go. This is where the oasis occurs. Now it's like, oh, no. Now you're at the door. You can feel it. And you're all like, holy fucking shit, this is amazing. But you're not going to go any further because you got to let go of the buoy. But they don't let go of the buoy. They hold on to the buoy. They see the molecular network and they're like, oh my God. But they won't let go of the buoy. You've got to let go of the goddamn buoy. Then you can move on. But this is as far as you can go if you're holding onto the buoy. This is what Christ meant when he said, no material possessions can come into this world. Possession did not mean material. It meant anything that was man-made. And sometimes that's an idea. An idea is a possession. And that's something that a lot of people do not get, is that an idea is a possession. So now you're clinging to this concept. It's a possessing. You are possessing it. To possess means to obtain, to hold on to. It doesn't mean it's a thing. It could be an idea. So now you've got a lot of people who are centered on a buoy, possessing their idea, and they will not let it go for the truth. And then they start talking about how they think they know. And as soon as their logic breaks down, they go, oh, well, that's my opinion. And logic doesn't work. No, you're an idiot. Logic is the only thing that works. Your opinion is wrong. And now you're sitting here arguing over whether or not you should go with truth. Well, that's my opinion. We're done here. We're done here. So my new boundary, because when you get angry and you realize you are attracting the wrong people, and you realize that they are wanting to use you to prove their ego, for their ego, I don't do that. I do not do that. I am not doing that. So from now on, my new boundary, there it is. I'm going to ask people, how long have you been watching my show? So that's it. First, I will not be talking for anybody until they have watched my show. That's it right there. They have to watch my show, because I'm not going to sit there and tell them no. And that is exactly it. I've been agreeing to meet with people who haven't even seen my show. And that is, no, we don't do that. Learn from my mistakes. We do not do that. Do not do that. If they have not watched my show, they should not be asking to have me on their no. Now, I love doing guest podcasts. I love going on other people's podcasts as a guest. But I started to notice that. So this is what was happening is I would meet somebody and he would be a scientist and a spiritualist. God, that word now. And breath master. I might be using that. It's corny, it's cheesy, and which means it's not romanticized. So breath master. That's really it. Everything in the Roman culture has been romanticized. Everything. To the point where the romance is the delusion. So I had the scientist who was also a breath master, and he basically made recommendations. And then when the people came into my recommendations, it's like, this isn't going to work. So yeah. Life happens in a very natural, evolved sequence. All life always happens in the same fucking sequence. All of life. There is a pattern of life. I cannot make that more simple for you. There is a pattern of life. Everything 100% follows this pattern, except you, except humans. We are the only ones who do not follow the pattern. Ironically, we're the only ones with mental illness because we're not following the pattern. When I started to follow the pattern, my mental illnesses went away. When I started to follow the pattern, I grew. I evolved. When I started following the pattern, I walked right into the abstract and just kept going. And I went, oh, well, look at that. There's a pattern of life. I found the pattern of life. And then I copied it. I went, why the fuck would I be exempt from it? Well, no wonder why I'm all fucked up. Because I thought I was exempt from the pattern of life. So I copied the pattern of life. I took the pattern of life from everything else in the world and I put it into my life. And I went, whoa, I feel fucking great. I found the secret to life. It's the pattern of life. You just need to follow the pattern of life. But instead I get this. No. This is, whoa. Have you been where I have been? Have you seen what I have seen? Have you done what I have done? Shut up. Learn. So this pattern of life is the Plato's point, reverse engineering, deconstruction, Plato's point. It's that. That is the pattern of life. Plants follow it, cells follow it, animals follow it, trees follow it, fish follow it, ecology follows it, biology follows it, chemistry follows it, garbage follows it. Everything follows it. If it doesn't get followed, it disintegrates. 100% of all things that do not follow this pattern of life disintegrates. Everything disintegrates when it does not follow that pattern of life. If you follow the pattern of life, it never falls apart. Never. It's eternal. It's eternal. It is the pattern of life. So eternal life is literally the pattern of life. Yeah. And if you don't follow it, it will disintegrate. The thing is, only the pattern of life can cross over here. Only the pattern of life. If you do not have the pattern of life integrated inside of it, something that you've got, it cannot come over. Because this is where the pattern of life continues. But you've got a lot of people who have things that are not following the pattern of life. So they get to the door and they are more interested in preserving their bullshit than actually being true or following the pattern of life. So the pattern of life is the order of operations in which things evolve. And this process is creation. It's also love, it's also truth, it's also logic, it's also learning. It's the same thing. So when you follow the order of operation that is the pattern of life, it all falls right into place. And it becomes so fucking easy because it's the pattern of life. The hardest part is your stupid ego. That's why I call you stupid. I have no tolerance for ego. Ego just means I'm not here to learn. What the fuck are you doing in a place for learning? That's why I call people stupid. They come here and they're like, I'm here, but you're not here to learn. This is a learning area, but you're not learning. Well, that's so stupid. Why are you bringing your ego into a learning space? So this is a learning space. It's a learning space. There's no egos allowed. You can't have ego and learning at the same time. They're dichotomous. Ego is dichotomous with learning. And it blew my mind away to see that this basic concept, most people can even understand. I would create a learning space and I'd have someone coming, well, why can't I have my opinion? It's a learning space. Why would you think that an ego or an opinion is allowed in a learning space? And this is something that our schools don't teach because our schools do not know anything about learning or education. It's just taught in the ancient Greek education system. And by the time philosophers and professors get to college, they're going, what the fuck is going on with the world? Well, this is why. So The pattern of life, that's all of it. The pattern of life. That is triadic healing. That is what you will be learning when you go through triadic healing. That is all you're going to be learning when you go through triadic healing is the pattern of life. All of it. There is nothing else here. This is it, the pattern of life. Now, the full pattern of life literally begins from your birth to your abundance, prosperity, all of it. All of it. It doesn't matter where you are. We have the entire pattern. So that if you are homeless, we got you covered. We got you covered. We're all set. This is actually something we are working on is jobs and homes for the homeless. It is a job center. It's not a job center. It's literally a place of employment that provides people with residential, clothing, food. It's literally employment with room and board. And we also we've integrated my educational program with this and the healing program. And this is one of the things that we are putting up. And the best thing is, like, we have several tiers where it's the first one is going to be homes and jobs for the homeless. And that is one of the projects we are in the process of building. Like the facilities are currently being built right now. So that is underway. And those are going to be going global. So we have a lot of projects like that. And then we take the pattern of life and we teach the pattern of life to people. And then we teach you how to integrate the pattern of life into your own life. So first is the introduction to the pattern of life. And then there is the integration process and teaching you how to integrate it at your own pace. That is vital to this, at your own pace. And then after the introduction, the integration at your own pace, then it's literally making the transfer over. It's switching your life over. And then we stabilize you. And then we nourish you and we teach you how to nourish yourself so that you upgrade. So it goes introduction, integration, transfer, stabilize, nourish, upgrade. And that's it right there. Introduction, integration, transfer, stabilize, nourish, upgrade. There's more. Yeah, you nourish more and then you upgrade. Yeah, that's it right there. And then you just nourish and upgrade, nourish and upgrade, nourish and upgrade. And that becomes a cycle. That right there becomes a cycle. So introduction, integration, transfer, stable, nourish, upgrade, nourish, upgrade, nourish, upgrade. And that's literally the pattern over and over again. So we can virtually take anyone from anywhere and go through the process. Now, the biggest question that people run into is, well, what about your resources? We give you the resources you need. It's all done. We give you 100% of all the resources you need. All you have to do is commit. That's all you've got to do is commit and give up your ego. It's going to cost you your ego. You have to want it. And you have to have no ego. That's the catch. And this is where I got to see the world and go, wow, most of you prefer your ego. Wow. When somebody says to you, I'm going to give you everything you could want because I need resource generators. That's what I need. That's my incentive. I need there to be more resource generators than consumers on this planet. That's the problem. We have way too many consumers. We should not have any consumers. If you are under the age of 18, you should not be a consumer. Let me say that again. If you are over the age of 18, you should not be a consumer. The only consumers in the world are people between the ages of 0 and 18. Everybody else should be a resource generator. If you are not a resource generator, you have a problem. The government has a problem. The entire country, the world has a problem. So this is like the core issue right here is you should not be a consumer when you are more than 18 years old. I know 15-year-olds who are resource generators. So this is really what it comes down to is, are you a consumer or are you a resource generator? So we give you the mental health facilities. We give you everything you need. We give you the entire product. It's already there. It's free. Start the program. By the time you get to literally stage 2, it's Try to Healing Part 2. When you are done with Try to Healing Part 2, we fund 100% of whatever it is you want to do. All you have to do is dream the fuck up. All you have to do is dream it. We take care of everything else. And then we connect you in the network. We get you rolling. We get you set up. We take care of all of it. So long as you become a resource generator. And then we coach you through the whole process. It's done. And we teach you how to turn yourself into a resource generator. It takes anywhere from 3 months to 2 years. And it's 100% free. We call it a pay it forward loan, which means after you are done, repeat the favor for 3 other people. Or, well, it's up to you how you want to pay it forward. You have to pay it forward 3 times. How you pay it forward is up to you. So, and there's no deadline. There's absolutely no deadline. So that is the pay it forward loan. That is the whole thing of it. Is we need resource generators. So all you have to do is commit, want it, and give up your ego. And the majority of people went, no, I like my ego. So there's no longer an excuse for your poverty. There is no longer an excuse for your mental illness. There is no longer an excuse for your suffering. There is no longer an excuse for anything. Your ego is literally the only thing in your way. So that was very truth telling. That's what it was. When I put out the program and I watched it and I watched the way people interact with it, and I just went, wow. So the truth about the people is they do not have any excuses. This is the biggest lie that I found, that I went, oh, I see you, is they do not have any excuses for their situation. They are all in the situation they are in because they want it. You are right where you want to be. You are all exactly right where you want to be with your ego. So you have your ego and you have what you want. So you actually are very happy because you've got your ego. So your ego is now your identity. No, it's not, but you've made it your identity. So I'm going, okay. Okay. All right. And I'm all done trying to help those people. You see, when you have self-esteem and you suddenly understand what arrogance looks like, you suddenly can find ego. And this is something we will be teaching you, is you're going to learn self-esteem and you're going to learn arrogance, and then you're going to be able to see ego. And then you're going to go, oh, yeah. It's all relative to truth. Once you realize what self-esteem really is. Self-esteem, I think, is really the core of this, because as soon as you get self-esteem and you go, oh, see, they're keeping you away from self-esteem with shrink words. By giving you arrogance, by telling you that your self-esteem is arrogance, you avoid your self-esteem, and then you never figure any of this out. The minute you get your self-esteem, the minute you can see all of it. Because your self-esteem is 100% linked to your authority. Your self-authority. It's extraordinary. So suddenly you have people with no self-esteem. You have people with no authority, and they use their ego as a prosthetic to supplement for their lack of confidence, self-esteem, and authority. Are you okay? And did you hurt yourself?
My ankle is asleep.
Oh, okay. All right. She's her. See, I know the science of what's going on in your body right now. You cut off the blood flow and it started to like, so her foot's asleep. And I can see like the whole, like the biology of what took place in her foot and the man, like fascinating. So once you realize that self-esteem is really the core of this issue, which is why, see, this is where Dr. Nathaniel Branden was a fucking genius, which is why he went, you know what? I'm just going to do the 6 pillars of self-esteem. Good job. Good job. Which is why when I read his book, it really fixed my head. And I went, all right. So Dr. Nathaniel Branden's The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem. And then follow that up with Dr. Aziz Gazapura's Not Nice. Rejection Proof by, I cannot pronounce that man's name, J-I-A and J-I-A-N. I have no idea how to pronounce that in his language. So you have those two things. And then you have, those are those 3 books were like, after I read those 3, my brain just went click, click, click. And I went, whoa, I can see shit. It was such wonderful perspective. Like without those 3 books, I never would have gotten here. They were milestones in my mental health. And to the point where I went, why the fuck isn't everyone reading these things? Like, which is why it's like, what the fuck? Those 3 books is all you need. The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem, Rejection Proof, and Dr. Aziz Gazapura. Sophie's World needs to come before all of those because that's going to click your logic. It's going to fix your logic. So Sophie's World and then those 3 books. After that, triadic healing begins. That's where triadic healing begins. And then we walk you through the process and we break it all down for you. So I'm going to go ahead and add this here. I have my reading list on my website. So let me go ahead and just grab the reading list and I will drop the link down below. The reading list is so fucking vital. I was recommending it to several people. I recommended it to a psychologist person I was working with at one point. And she was blown away. She's like, what the fuck? Why haven't I not heard of this? I had no comment. So here is, I'm going to go ahead and hit edit. We're going to drop this below. There you go. So that reading list is everything. That's where everything starts. Start with the reading list. And then after the reading list, you get into the triadic healing part 1. We are going to go ahead and proceed through it. I'm going to be breaking it down, but you have to have that reading material in order for any of this to process the right way. It's an order of operations. So if you're at this point, and this is it right here, this is the next stopping point with the Radical Global Healing Plan. We need to stop everything. And now you need to go read. You should have already read Sophie's World. So now you need to read the order of operations. Start with the 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem. Let me take a look at these books for a minute here. Okay, yes. Let me edit this page. I want to make sure I make it clear. Sophie's World is the first book. Yeah, it says mandatory read first. So I'm going to give you the next 3 books that you must read them in order. I cannot tell you enough how much these 3 books. So read this one first, the 6th pillar, read Rejection Proof next, and then read Not Nice next. That is the order of operations. That is the order of operations. Now, I read 7 Steps for Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey when I was a child, when I was 15. And that did a lot to solidify what ethics does. If you have not read it, read it. That is vital for understanding the importance of ethics inside our lives. I read the Silva Mind Method last, and it did not. If you don't know how to use mental discipline, that will show you how to use. That will show you how to do it. It's a very, and it's neuroscience based. I will not make a book recommendation that is not proven by neuroscience, that is not proven by science. I will never fucking do that. And then, which is why my books are the last. Broken is for those who are going through trauma. Like if you need perspective, I'm going to leave Broken up to you whether or not you want to read that one. But Breaking Delusion is the really important one in that series. That's the one that breaks the fucking delusion. And that introduces, this is Try to Killing in story mode. So Breaking Delusion is really, in my section of the books, that's the most important one to read. So that's where we're at now. We are at that breaking point where you cannot go further in the program until you have read the 6 pillars of self-esteem, rejection proof, and not nice. Those 3, and I'm going to go ahead and put Try to Killing Part 1 to begin. That's it right there. This is just the preliminary work. So I would do the Radical Global Healing Plan, Introduction, and then it goes Try to Killing Part 1 to begin. Yeah, so you either need the pep talk or you need Sophie's World. But yeah, I've seen people, there you go. Yeah, you need the pep talk first and then you need Sophie's World. Some people are going to need the pep talk. So you have the pep talk, then you have the introduction. Those 3 books are next. So from this point on, if you have not read the 6 pillar of self-esteem, rejection proof, and not nice, this next part is not going to be for you. It's not going to apply. If you continue on here without these 4 books, Sophie's World, and then 6 pillars of self-esteem, rejection proof, not nice, it's not going to be as effective. It's going to be a fraction of effectiveness for you. So that's it right there. I feel really good having the ability to really step back and yeah, we're going to be getting into story health. Right. And we also finished up the story of the story. I'm analyzing all of this, seeing if there's anything else here. Yeah, I think I'm definitely I'm running through all of this and I'm not seeing, we've literally covered everything for the introduction. So once you do those 3 books, we'll be able to get into Try to Killing. Now the books for Try to Killing, because there's 4 books in the series for the Try to Killing series, and it walks you through step 1, step 2, and then step 3, and then step 4. And so you have the books, the Try to Killing series books. And the Try to Killing books are different than the recommended reading. They're basically, again, it's an order of operations. You have to read the books in order. So from Sophie's World all the way to Salmon of Knowledge. And while you're reading the books, Try to Killing. While you're reading the books, go through Try to Killing. And that's it right there. While you are reading the books, partner it with Try to Killing. So you'll have the books, the reading list. You will have Triadic Healing, the Radical Global Healing Plan. And then you will have, we have a masterclass on Saturdays at 11 o'clock. And that's for members only. And that's for Q&A. So that's available. So you can, and the whole program is strongly recommended that you do the reading list with the Radical Global Healing Plan, with the masterclasses. That's to get the full, that's the full experience, is to partner it with the Radical Global Healing Plan, the masterclass, and the Triadic Healing books. Yeah, that's it. That just clicked in my brain and it went, yep, that's right. Okay, so you guys do have a way to access me. I just am not available unless you're a subscriber. That's what that is. I only make myself available to members. That's what that is. So here I am thinking, how are they going to get access to me? Well, I do have access. You have to join Journey into the Self. I will not talk to anybody who is not a member of the Healing Garden. So I am only accessible to Healing member gardens only. Yeah, that's it. So in addition to those three things, we have community, we have play, and we have the game. So that's like extra credit. Is that right there? Extra credit. So if you want to enhance your Triadic Healing walkthrough experience, you've got the Triadic Healing books, you've got the Triadic Healing Radical Global Healing Plan, and then you have your option for the masterclass. And that is on Saturdays at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And then if you want to further enhance your experience, we have the community, we have the playground, and then we have the game. And the game will be covered. That is coming in. I just got to get this stabilized first. Once my routine and pattern and everything is stabilized here, we're going to bring in the next few pieces. I already tried bringing in the community and it's not working. So I got that backwards, wrong order of operations, because I did not follow the life pattern. And sure enough, it's not working. Every time something doesn't work, it's because you have failed to follow the life pattern. So, and sure enough, I'm like, oh, the community isn't working because it's in the wrong order of operations. I'm not following the pattern anymore. The playground is actually more prone to starting off because that's in the right order than the other stuff. And then the game will be coming next. So the game will be added next once we get Triadic Healing, the Radical Global Healing. The masterclasses are already in place. So books, live coverage, and then masterclass. So right here, this is just the live coverage. Enhance it with the books. And then we have the free courses, of course. So if you are coming in late to this, you can go to the free course, Radical Global Healing Plan, and go to the beginning and go through it. You must do this in order. And yeah, you are not going to get this most effect if you are coming into it late. So we just finished up the introduction. We are now moving into, well, we are going to be starting Triadic Healing Part 1 soon. And people already have read Sophie's World. That's already done. So Sophie's World, and then the next 3 books on the reading list, and then we're starting Triadic Healing. So you are already like, if you're coming into this now, we're already starting Part 3 of this program. So go back to the beginning and go through it with the Radical Global Healing Plan. It is 100% DIY healing, DIY learning, and we walk you through all of that to show you how to do it. Depending upon what your relationship is with understanding your knowledge, all that jazz, you're going to need the pep talk. Skip, and it depends on who you are. Some people are going to need the pep talk. Some people aren't. And you're just going to have to work your way through the pep talk, because I get way too many people here for the wrong reasons. And I don't do that. So you need to understand what we do here, what we're about, all of that. Go back all the way to the beginning to the pep talk, go through it. If you are suicidal, don't touch the pep talk. It's not for you. It's not for you. I have a whole nother program just for you called If You Are Struggling with Suicidal Ideation, and that is located on my website. That is your path. Do not do the pep talk. You can do that, and then you can go right over to the introduction and start from there. But you will need to read Sophie's World. So, yeah, that's about it. That's about it. And again, links are all below. You can hit on Get Started, and it's going to take care of everything for you. So once we have, so the routine has been established. Everything is set. I can feel it locking right in beautifully. What I am doing is I am following the life pattern with the business and with my live stream, so that it's all clicking into place, so that it's stable and it grows and nourishes naturally. as opposed to me forcing it and breaking it into what everyone else tells me it should be, which is what a traditional business plan does. So I am actually evolving my business into Mother Nature herself so that she naturally evolves on her own, organically, in her own way, on her own time. And learning how to build a business like this was a fucking bitch, but I did it. I got the pattern for it. I got the formula for it. We teach you how to do this if you want to be a business owner. It's all in Triadic Healing. There isn't a thing you can think of that we don't cover in Triadic Healing. It is literally life. It's the school of life. There's nothing else. It's amazing. So I have a few more kinks to work out, but for the most part, the foundation is set. So this was just laying out the foundation. So now we can actually start working on this and going through it. All right. Excellent. I will be back later today. So thank you so much. And may the truth always find you.